everyone, and welcome back to Doctor Who's Crown Jewels, where for the past 3 months I have been looking at every season of Doctor Who and picking out the best of the best, as it were. Season 14. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's immaculate. It's the best season thus far. There is controversy surrounding it, such as the increased amount of violence around this time, as well as the finale's problematic elements. But in terms of raw story quality, I think this season is fairly unmatched. Let me talk about the first Crown Jewels candidate. I don't want to go over honourable mentions this week because the rest of the season is really the honourable mentions, but the one that nearly made the cut was The Face of Evil. It's underrated, just check it out. The Deadly Assassin. People are like, it ruins the time. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. The Time Lords are meant to be boring, and also it's not exactly taking away from their power. Everything in this story is meant to be the Master doing a very calculated attack on the Time Lords. Time Lords who are very capable of defending themselves, just so he could get to the most powerful artifacts in Gallifrey. It's a very imaginative story detailing a very trippy concept such as the Time Lord Matrix, as well as a lot of political machinations going on as well. A lot of this story feels like you could almost view it as a sequel to the War Games, and it's just because I see a lot of parallels, such as last time the Doctor was on Gallifrey, it was to do with a bunch of war games going on. When he enters the Matrix, what does his imagination conjure up first? War. Chancellor Goth is there, persecuting him. One could say that's the same Time Lord who persecuted him in the War Games. The Master is there. One could say the War Chief is the Master, but that's a bit controversial to say. Those connections made the story a lot more awesome for me, but it's just a load of headcanons in it. If politics and Time Lord lore aren't your thing, this one's not for you. If it is your thing, this one's obviously for you. And if you're indifferent, I recommend it. I'm the latter camp. I don't care much either way. I just want a good story, and I think this is that. I mean, it's the Doctor fighting for his life. I mean, you gotta love stories like that. The Robots of Death is my favourite story of the season and my second favourite Fourth Doctor story overall. It starts out as a whodunit. I know, robots in the title. It's obviously about who's controlling the robots. But the way you learn more about each character as the story progresses is very interesting. And also trying to figure out how the robots and the killer operate is also very interesting. The demonstration of the Doctor and Leela's intelligence is shown throughout, and yes, Leela is intelligent. You may think of her as a savage, but she uses her brain a lot. Honestly, she's one of my favourite companions as a result of this. It doesn't matter how you're brought up, if you're intelligent and able to see the bullshit that life flings you, you're gonna get far. I don't really have much to say on either of these stories. Much like season 12, I've picked like the two stories ever. So it's kind of hard to say what's not been said before, but in all honesty, I really love the world and characters of the Robots of Death. But I don't feel like I should speak about them because I'm either going to say what's been said before or I'm either going to spoil it, which I do not want to do. So I just recommend watching it yourself. It's a very fascinating story. The Doctor and Leela's dynamic is brilliant. You've got a lovely side cast who are all very interesting, especially one of the robots, D-84. He should have been a companion. Both of these stories are also just really nice to look at. Robots of Death made the most of its limited budget, and The Deadly Assassin is just a visual spectacle. I just think both of these stories are really good, and I even like the villains. People seem to suggest that Peter Pratt is one of the weaker Masters, and his performance isn't fully explored because he was wearing a mask, but I do feel like what he does was justified enough. It really does feel like he is the Master, but I do admit we have seen better. As for Capel, who I'm not going to be showing visuals for because that is a spoiler, people seem to think he's a weak villain, and I don't see why. He's just not really shown all too much, but then again, he's the main threat of part 4. Everyone else has been whittled down until it has to be whoever it is, and that's when we see him. It's a mystery, guys. Like, and you may think, oh, by structure it creates weak villains. No, like as soon as the Doctor realizes, oh, it kind of has to be him, seeing and hearing more of him's motivations, well, he's insane. So there's not really much you can go for from that. I don't know. I think these stories are really neat, and they are my crown jewels for that reason. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and all that jazz, and I will see you next week.